Today, have the immense honor to discuss Vijay Raman's book, Vijay Raman IPS, his book with Veena Vijay, and this is going to be an accelerating journey. So, for those who do not know, Vijay had his roots in Kerala, right, and the beginnings are from here in Kerala. Would you want to start the session off by mentioning the Kerala connection?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the Mathrubhumi Literature Festival team, Mr. Sabeen and his team, for giving me this opportunity to bring my husband's book on this esteemed platform. Vijay was a son of Kerala, and it's a great honor that today in Kerala I'm able to speak about his book and bring to you his journey from Kerala to Kashmir. And Vijay, when he was in the academy, he had heard the storekeeper say that these medals cannot be bought, they have to be earned. And then when Vijay secretly held this desire to earn his medal, and which he did so in future. He got the President's Gallantry Medal for gallantry for having decimated the Pan Singh Tomar gang of 9. And is a first-hand account you will see about Pan Singh Tomar, and then he led from the front where he was able to bring down Ghazi Baba, the mastermind behind the Parliament attack. So if you really see, very few people would know a person from Kerala going into Kashmir and having achieved so much.
And I think he also did a lot of his studies here, right, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he actually was here till class 7 in Kerala, and then he went on, because his father was in the army, so that's how he went on to be in different parts of the country. So it's from Kerala to Kashmir, north to east, all over India. And he actually made history in every position where he was, and he really did.
And that's we are also connected by the uniform. So my dad was in the army.
I see.
And I have, he's
Okay.
no more, unfortunately, and I have very fond memories of,
Okay.
the olive green.
Ah, yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so the whole family of uniform.
Yes. And it's amazing that they chose to serve the nation and
That's
did
right.
so with so much pride
Yeah.
and definitely we just saw Vijay's picture in the background, and he was decked with medals, and every single one of them is earned, like he said, and totally deserving. And I think the gratitude of the entire nation is behind
Yes.
that. So thank you for that. And I come to an interesting part when so this is Vijay's. Moved from Kerala. He's done his master's. He's done his LLB, I think, right,
Yes,
with a few gold medals there as well. And then comes a juncture in life where Vijay meets the love of his life, right? And a fascinating thing is Vijay is en route to his IPS, and here is a national hockey player, which is Swina, and I'm totally intrigued to know the love story behind the uniform also, right? So there's a lot of humanness behind the uniform.
Actually, Vijay was, when he was in college, he was told by his father, yes, you have to become a gazetted officer. In those days, people didn't know what a gazetted officer was actually. They were knowing engineers, doctors and all, and it was not so popular. And so Vijay had to look at what exactly he has to do. And that's when he cleared the Indian Ordnance Factory Service, and he was the assistant manager to my father, who was the general manager. And in fact, I used to go for my tournaments and things like that. And when we came back home for, vacations, that's when I met him. But what I liked about him is that's how we met. But he was a person right from the beginning who was very mature for his age. Read in the book as to how he actually spoke to my father before he spoke to me.
Wow.
He sort of asked my father that I want to get married to your daughter. And my father said, okay, but do you think, have you asked my daughter? He says, no, sir. I said, then why? First you should ask my daughter. He says, no, because I'm working with you, under you. I don't want anyone to talk, like about, the bosses. So he finally married his boss's daughter. But I liked his courage, So he always felt that whenever you want something, you take courage in your hands. And that's what he has been doing all his life.
Right. Must say, the bravery starts from home, yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite an interesting story. But then I think the bravery continued because he got his IPS, and the first posting that he had was in he joined the Madhya Pradesh cadre,
Yeah.
right? And straight into Chambal, right? This is the land of dacoits, and all the names that we hear about and people fear, and he's right in there as his first posting. So how did you guys go through that initially? And after that, I'll come to the the highlight of his.
Actually, for Vijay, it was a different kind of a life, which he sort of mentions. I would like to say that dacoits were never known to him, because being in Kerala and other places, and how he dealt with as a police officer. A lot of people look at police officers because they are dehumanized. I would like to read some of this thing,
yes.
but yeah?
Yes, please.
So the first time I visited a scene of murder and recovered incriminating articles, I began to understand that the nature of my life's work would make it difficult to lay down a specific schedule of work. Apart from the crime, we were also exposed to police administration. I must admit that I found it appalling to see the conditions in which constables lived with their paltry salary. The most nauseating is the contempt in which even educated people hold the police, blaming them for all the ills of society. It brought to mind Shakespeare's poignant observation in Julius Caesar: the evil that men do lives after them, the good it's oft interned with their bones. Police functioning has its seamy side, no doubt, but sadly, the drawbacks are magnified out of proportion, while the achievements and the positive contribution to society are not even acknowledged. Police work is a challenge from all sides, and even as a young man, right at the start of career, I was always glad that I would be in thick of it for the years to come.
Wow. But that's always a conflict, I guess, right? Because on the outside, your work is like priceless, and you're protecting the nation, you're protecting the people around. But inside, and the nuances and the nitty-gritties of the job and the cadre might not appreciate it as much, and all the stuff that. So that is an interesting or a tough dichotomy to kind of live with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did he share some of that at home as well?
Yes, he used to have a lot of, when he was posted as SP Bhin, it was all, he was absolutely new territory.
Right.
And that is when he felt that, he was finding it difficult dealing with dacoits. And once it so happened that he got information about dacoits, and he went there, and they got information, and it's like, he felt he's praying. Later he said, I paid a price for being idealistic.
Yeah.
So that's when the dacoits were actually, he said, okay, the dacoits, they got information, they got him, but his staff was not ready to do that. I mean, that's how I would like to read from him.
Sure.
As to how he felt that. See, now that the drama starts, just imagine the type of things a young police officer has to face. It's all very easy to say, no third degree, no this, no that. I'm a young officer, fresh out of the academy, with just 1 year of service, facing a rebellious group of subordinates who want to kill. Actually, his subordinates said, no, do not get him to surrender. You must kill him, because he's a man. And I'm still carrying the commitment to uphold the law, protect human rights, behave as the Constitution expects me to. Was it possible? Before my eyes, some of them were clearly getting ready for violence. Fortunately, there were some senior constables, sub-inspectors who pacified, and they protested. So after this, this dacoit was arrested, and he surrendered, and he was put behind jail. After a few months, he got a information that there is a murder. When he goes to the murder place, he finds that the body has been cut up into pieces, and there's a small note left for him saying, "This is my present to you." It was his informer. And that is when he felt, was he right or wrong in having left.
Taken that.
And that is how he, you know, says, we policemen get hardened towards the criminals.
Very true, because I was just thinking, right, we are so protected in our homes, and even when we are exposed to something like this, it's through the news or the papers or, web series or movies that we see. But here are people who are actually on the front line, risking their lives, risking everything they have, their families and peace of mind and everything, to try and, eliminate all these threats that are around us. So it's like, which brings me to the next point of, the dreaded decoy, right, Pansing Tomar. And I was telling Veena earlier that all of us know Pansing Tomar, right, because there has been a movie made out about him. There's a lot of stuff around that, there's noise around it. But he was killed, him and his gang, they were eliminated by an encounter led by Vijay. And I think that is the movie that we need to make. So you want to touch upon the Pansing Tomar?
Yeah,
case?
it was a very difficult encounter, which you will read in the book. It is how a policeman has to face and take decisions on the spot. And this was a 14-hour dawn to dusk encounter where he had the police force outside and they had to enter a village, and he decides, instead of surrounding, he has the people surrounded, but he takes a group of people inside the village. And after that, they realize that they are caught between the crossfire of the police as well as the decoys. So it was a very difficult situation. How he handled it is all mentioned, and it sounds very thrilling, but at that point of time, it was not that easy.
Yes, and in fact, I think there is a mention of one of his subordinates there. In the book it's elaborated, but at some particular point, they had to get a vantage view. And I think his subordinate, Vijay asked his subordinate to step on his shoulder and kind of, take aim and, find out where they are, etc. And what follows is after some time, when they're posted elsewhere, he comes and he, Vijay is in full uniform with all the stars and everything, and the Ashok Chakra, the emblem, the Indian emblem on his shoulders, and he kind of taps his shoulder and says, "This is where I stood on that day." So there's that bond that the camaraderie that they share when they go into battle together, which is like it's something else. And like Veena rightly said, for us it's thrilling, but for them it's it's in the line of duty. It is something they have to do. It's their job, and they want to do it as best as they can to protect the country. And which again brings me to, like I said, if you, it's a very interesting read, and it's written in very simple language. But what I like is how it jumps drastically from one scenario to another. It's like a movie cut from one scenario to another setting altogether. So from Pansing Tomar and dacoits in Chambal, and where it led to Phulan Devi and Malkhan Singh and all surrendering later due to the fear of being encountered or eliminated like Pansing. From there, Vijay gets into the SPG. Suddenly he's with prime ministers. How did that happen?
Yeah, actually Vijay was a game changer, because after Pansing encounter, you will find that Phulan Devi and Malkhan Singh wanted to surrender, and they had, many conditions that, okay, these are the conditions, only then we'll surrender. Of course, they surrendered after he was transferred out, and later on, Vijay was posted to Raipur and then on to Bhopal, where the gas tragedy happened, and at that point of time, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi had come to, see the people, and when they were traveling in the carcade, his shawl was left out, so Vijay went and stopped the carcade, opened the door, closed the, you know, and actually got angry with the security people. We can't have the Prime Minister opening the door, and this is not the way. How did the door open? And he blasted the security guy and pushed off. And later on he thought, oh my God, I was, talking, the Prime Minister was sitting right behind. But probably that's what the Prime Minister and his chief of the security was there. Mm-hmm. They liked his forthrightness, and then because later on when the Chief Minister called him and said, okay, so Vijay sheepishly asked me, I hope the Prime Minister is not angry with me or something for having scolded his security guy. So he says, no, he appreciated that you were doing your duty. And that's how he was sort of picked up, because in the first batch of all SPG, when it was being made for the Prime Minister's security, there were, people were handpicked from all over the country. Right. And he was one of them to be picked up from Madhya Pradesh.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I think he was part of the SPG team which protected 4 prime ministers, right?
Yeah, he was with Shri Rajiv Gandhi, Shri Narasimha Rao, VP Singh, and Chandrasekhar. Right. And it's a very funny incident. I would like to read about it. When he went for Chogam along with the Prime Minister. So that is the time he writes actually. Vijay traveled to work, to see, he had the opportunity to see the heads of state, various global governments closely, including Nelson Mandela, Margaret Thatcher, the Libyan revolutionary, Gaddafi, and many others. So during that, Vijay narrates that when he went to the Bahamas for Chogam, protocol was for all escort teams to walk up with the heads of the state to a certain point in the conference venue, after which the local police took over, escorting them to designated seats. The local police were escorting Gaddafi to his seat when they somehow fell into an altercation with Gaddafi's security force, who refused to follow protocol and stop at the designated spot. Gaddafi was known for his cadre of about 30 fierce women, known as his Amazonian guards, for his protection. They were believed to have taken oaths of virginity and were dressed in camouflage with nail polish, coiffured hair, and heavy mascara. Now, one of these Amazonian women jumped like a cat on one of the local security guards and bit his ear. What a shock they got. They were prepared for guns, but were not for a biting woman. Now, Gaddafi's Amazonian guards proceeded to escort him to the designated seat, while the local police moved to the back of the room, where police personnel from other countries were also standing. Vijay noticed that he was standing next to the man who had been bitten, saw that his ear was bleeding, and inquired, "Hope that was not too painful." The man laughed and said, "I am not worried about the pain, but how I am going to explain to my wife that a woman bit my ear, that's going to be more dangerous."
Did he really have to explain it to you?
So these are small things, because he traveled around the world. Earlier he used to travel 20 kilometers in the ravines and then bullock carts, and then he was traveling with the prime ministers all over the world.
I know, from the interior forests of Chambal to
that's right.
the prime minister's SPG. That's brilliant. And it's nice to have that sense of humor to kind of anecdote these incidents, because all the 4 prime ministers that you're talking about, I think these were fairly tumultuous times in India, as such, with Narasimha Rao, with the Mandal Commission, and the change of guard with Narasimha Rao, and all of that were like pretty tumultuous. And I'm sure the detail as to security was, pretty much quite a bit to handle, if I say in little or a few words. But I think he handled it with elan. And again, I think this is the next cut, right? So we flash to the next scenario, and suddenly from guarding prime ministers and being at the all the diplomatic visits and all of that, Vijay is building fences in Kashmir, right?
Yeah. Actually, Vijay was actually chosen for starting the fencing, because it was being delayed in Rajasthan, and Gujarat had already happened, but they were facing a lot of problems. And at that time, the BSF chief was very keen, having known Vijay and his integrity as well as his dedication, that I think you can do it. And that's when they started. And see, you see Vijay's work, it has impacted society.
Yes.
For instance, after the Pansing encounter, you find there was a decline in dacoity in Chambal. And today, you don't find any dacoits. I mean, if you ask the new generation, they don't know what dacoits are. But at that point in time, they were the terrors or the terrorists of that region. Similarly, in starting the fencing, it helped, the people, the police and the people, the infiltration of the terrorists and the smuggling of arms reduced a lot.
Yes.
And so that was an impact itself.
And just to put it into context for everyone, this is the entire border was being fenced by the Indian government. It's a multi-crore project at that time.
Yeah, the Kashmir area.
Kashmir area.
Jammu
and floodlit and
he
all.
Started off with about 22, and then later on someone else continued and completed it. So it was a big impactful thing that he did.
Yeah, and a huge step, because at that time there was a lot of infiltration, like you said. Like I said,
this is in 2000.
Right. I mean, I've heard stories from my dad as well. He fought in the war.
Correct,
so and this was a big step in at least starting something off that has huge impact even now. And I think along with the same, he was posted in Kashmir, and one of the darkest days possibly for India was an attack on our democracy, right, where our parliament, which is the seat of our democracy, was attacked. And of course it was foiled to a large extent, but then there was a threat. And one of, as Vijay has himself said, there's a person called Ghazi Baba who was responsible for it, and I think Vijay has called him the Osama of India. And there's a part of the book where Vijay was tasked with tackling this challenge per se. So maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, because Vijay was earlier posted in J&K to set up the security system for Farooq Abdullah after the turmoil in Kashmir. And then again he did the fencing. So he had his own people there. And he found all his staff was very helpful, and they felt that could help him. In fact, he had a brush with death many times. And this was another one which I would like to read, how his informer had taken him, because they normally take you to shoot the recce of the place.
Right.
And that's why he said, okay, I'll take you where that person stays. So I asked, okay. I did have an idea of Ghazi Baba look like from the news and reports when Parliament House was attacked. So when we set out more than a few days in a Tata Sumo, the PSO next to my driver, Harinder, and the informer sitting next to me and my back, arriving at the area, he yelled, Janab, there he is, that is Ghazi Baba. So now, I tapped Harinder's shoulder, saying, that is the driver, Roko, stop the car. I had my hand on the door handle and I was opening the door, ready to leap out, when my informer grabbed my forearm in a tight grip and shouted urgently, hurry, drive fast, jaldi jaldi. We must leave immediately. There was panic in his voice, and Harinder was absolutely clear in his mind whose orders he should follow. Without the slightest hesitation, he stepped on the accelerator, driving like a madman, and got us back home in about 20 minutes instead of the usual 30. My informer was still sitting with my arm in his tight grip, and my arm was turning blue. It was August, not yet winter. The weather was pleasant. We arrived home. Till then I had not uttered a word to him, nor had he given me any explanation for his hysterical reaction. By the time I came back to the living room, my orderlies had brought him some food and things. Janab, there's one thing I forgot to tell you. I'm so sorry, that was a mistake. What? I asked. When Ghazi Baba comes out into the open, it is to make phone call to Pakistan. We know that which PSO he makes. But we also know wherever he goes out in his own, he wears a belt of explosives. So when he's armed or not. So under his Pathani suit, they were all explosives. So that is how he was saved, because, so these are the kind of problems and the things which the policemen face, which the people don't know. They only see, okay, this is what is done. Oh, the police has not done this. Police has not done that. But what the police go through is not known.
Very true. Very true. And it's, can you imagine, it's just,
This is just
minutes apart from...
one a small thing. There are many officers like Vijay who, do so much for the country, for the nation, and put their lives into that. But they are not actually recognized. That's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, like I said, we know Pan Singh from the movie, but we're just getting to know Vijay.
Yeah.
At least we are fortunate to do that now. And this is, like I said, I don't think any movie will come close to that. Like 2 minutes, and there's the guy, who masterminded the parliament attack, and he's covered himself with bombs inside his kurta, and Vijay was about to grab him, but his informer or his ADC, kind of stopped him, saying that this is how it works here, so let's wait for our turn. But then he did catch him.
Yeah, he caught him. And then another thing about Vijay was, he always said that you learn lessons not only from your seniors or your colleagues, but you also learn from your juniors. Yes. So in that I will talk about, how during the encounter, some of his men were injured. And now he was trying to figure out how to get them down and safely. So he was monitoring, spearheading the thing, when one of the constables standing with me that evening happened to be a Keralite like me. He said, "Sir, we have so many battalions around. Why don't we collect mattresses from them and stack up 100 under the wall? Then we can tell the officers on the roof to come to the edge and jump on the mattresses." Yet, a great idea, but I had to take credit for the idea myself, because if I had said, "Wow, this constable has a great idea, go quickly and bring all the mattresses you can find," the other senior officers, commandants would have scoffed. How can a constable have a good idea? Unfortunately, this is how we all work. I gave the orders, and while the men were enthusiastically arranging for the soft landing, I got one of the injured boys on the wireless. You see, in the wireless, sometimes even the terrorists come onto the same band. Yes. So it's very difficult for you to also communicate. Yes. So how Vijay used his, as fate would have it, one of the boys stranded on the top of the building, a deputy commandant rank officer, was also a Keralite. I spoke to Binu in Malayalam, telling him we knew they were injured, but were arranging a soft fall for them, and asked them if they could roll down to the side of the terrace and jump out, slip out of the edge to where the mattresses were being laid out. We'll be there to hold you. And we were there, ambulance were waiting, doctors were waiting, and they were rushed to the hospital where others who had injured were also being treated. Wow. So he really believed in his people. He was his own people he believed in a lot.
True. And I think I'm just going to go back a few steps and see. When he started off, if you remember, Veena was saying that he had dissent in the ranks. Even people in his ranks were like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do the encounter now, or we shouldn't fight. From there, he gained so much trust and respect of his men through all the stuff that he did, all the leadership that he provided, that suddenly the entire team is behind him, whatever he says. And possibly because of what you said as well, he's willing to learn from anybody, because an idea can come from anywhere. You can't discard. I have friends in the police, and they often say some of the lower ranked people have worked for so long and worked with so many different seniors and in so many different scenarios that they're able to kind of give inputs that possibly the guys from the biggest academies might not. It's simple practical knowledge from being on the ground for that long. Yeah. And it's brilliant that he could accommodate all of it and then create his own strategies to make sure that...
In fact, I'd like to tell you one small incident. Like when Vijay joined first time in SP Bhin, there the people just come and see, when a new chap joins in, what kind of a person he is. So they would come and meet him. So they, in that area in Chambal, they would say darshan. They would just say, whatever is your problem, can I help you out? He said, no, hum darshan karne hai, just to see you. Now we was wondering why they just come to see me. Basically, they come and see what you're doing. And then, this is like a small room next to your office where you're sitting and, talking to them. Then he would hear, one day what he heard, when he says, "Arey, ye to ladka dikhta hai." He's such a young man, and he doesn't even have a mustache. So I mean, for them, like not having a mustache and a police officer not having a mustache, they couldn't understand. And I believe in those days, I mean, I don't know now, but they used to have a special allowance for people with a mustache.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And I'm
So
surprised, a
they-
Malayali not having a mustache then.
yeah,
Not
so
bad.
they couldn't believe a police officer without a mustache. But then, you know, there was a case where the lawyers were beaten up under his because there was a case. But he said, no, I think he can manage because he's beaten up the lawyers. So there is some kind of thing in him.
This is at the university, right? With the students and the lawyers.
No, the lawyers in the this thing at
Right.
Gwalior,
Yeah. Got it.
So perception of people varies from and the
Yeah.
juniors and everyone have a
No, I
different.
think he also handled a bit of student riots and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
student
that.
riot,
Yeah. So maybe he made a mark and then, slowly
right,
gained
yeah.
the respect. And of course, but then his actions speak louder than words. And so Ghazi Baba was finally
Yeah.
eliminated, and, I think our retaliation or
Yeah.
reply
Yeah.
to what they did was fulfilled there. And I'm sure he got a lot of accolades for that.
Yeah.
I think he got a medal for that as well, for the
No,
Ghazi
he
Baba.
didn't get a medal.
the-
He got the medal for the other juniors. They got
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, nice. And now, again, I'm going to cut a little bit. So from here, as if this was not enough, right? We have Chambal, we have the SPG, we have Ghazi Baba. And as if all that is enough, he's now put, of course, not to forget the fencing of the borders. Yeah. And now he's put in to handle Naxals, right? And I think that was possibly the last of the postings. Yeah. And you remember something from, because that was a very new challenge, I think.
Yeah,
and
it
from
was a
very
challenge
different-
like Vijay was not, I mean, like that was one of the places where he felt he was not successful, and he always, like he accepted his, I mean, you can say not follies, but yes, that the failures. He felt that, he lost his men because he did not take the right decision, and which actually had a impact on him. So he was accepting his failures. Like for instance, in the first year of college, he didn't pass. He had one failure, and he had to allowed to keep terms and go on. But this is actually why I want the youth to read the book. That he actually took the challenges and turned them into opportunities. He accepted his defeats and also still went on. So that way, I mean, where he had got allowed to keep terms, he got gold medal in
True.
yellow, and he went on to prove himself.
True.
And also he broke the Guinness World Record.
I was getting to that. I'll just touch on a few things before I go on to that. So basically, I think what Veena mentioned and what Vijay also tells us is a very important point, especially for today's day and age, where you shouldn't be perturbed, or you shouldn't double down when failure hits you, because success is on the other side, right? Just that you need to have the courage and perseverance to tide through it. And a lot of the stories and a lot of the beginnings to where he's reached are indicators that we can imbibe and kind of also adapt, especially the next generation can count on that. I think a lot of people get scared when they fail. I think you only learn when you fail and then want. So I kind of beg to disagree a little bit where you say that I wouldn't think it was in the forces, right? Even I grew up on army stories, and so at that point it's a split-second decision, right? And of course they're trained to do what is right, and at that point what they think is right. But there are so many uncontrollables that could go against you, because that's how a battlefield is, right? And stuff happens. So, but at least there was a positive move to try and do something to kind of neutralize the threats. So I think hats off to him. And so that's the next cut, right? How many cuts now? And we haven't even talked for much, right? So now we've talked about all of this, right? Action-packed, heavy-duty stuff. In between all of this, Vijay finds time to break a world record. He goes and gets a Guinness record. How does he do that? I really want to ask him.
Yeah, actually, with all the stresses and strains and dacoits and prime ministers, he was working in this SPG. He had a colleague, Mr. Vijay Kapila. His brother was a Himalayan car rally driver, and he won the car rally, and he came to the office, and Vijay congratulated him, very well done and all that. And then he says, Naveen, you should do something better, make a name for the country. This is done, now what after this? He says, sir, I must think about it. And he went, and Vijay, it was like a mark. After 2 months, Mr. Naveen Kapila came back, and he says, sir, I have found something. He says, what is it? Sir, we are going to do round the world, circumnavigation round the world. So Vijay said, okay. He says, so you have to join me. So Vijay said, me, I'm working with the Prime Minister, I'm not going to get any leave. So he says, sir, you must try. So that's when he applied for leave. In the meantime, they had to do, because, going around the world, they had to do all the continents and by car. And the British Army record was 40 days. And they wanted to break that. And they wanted to do it in the Indian car. So, because you see, it's a very tough thing. In those days, you didn't have Google Maps, nothing. They had to get different maps, go through all the routes, which, you miss one exit, you're gone somewhere. And it was a very tough thing for them to plan. So he planned it out, and they started off. And they started off with Australia, because Australia had the same, driving on the same side. And because the terrains are different in all countries, the weather was different, and the rules are different, and it was a very, very tough. And actually, it was an adventure, because that's the time when the Venezuela coup happened. There was a blizzard at the New York airport, and also you had the Babri Masjid case where they had to change their plan because they could not, because they had planned to come in. They have to do certain kilometers in every continent, and they had left the last bit to the Asian continent, coming through Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, etc. But because of Babri Masjid, they were facing problems in Algiers, where they were saying every police station you have to stop, and they were losing time. So they had to change their route. And I would like to tell you one incident when they reached Australia at the first round. And the immigration officers saw their papers, and they were questioning, like, okay, why have you come here? So they have come to create the Guinness record. He says, you all are going to Indians? Guinness record? Which car are you driving? He says, we are driving an Indian car. Oh, come on, I bet you cannot ever do it. Because they was do coast to coast, entire coast in 8 days, which was like impossible for them to think in an Indian car or whatever it is. Anyway, they did it, and they came, and this immigration officer actually made it possible for himself to be on duty at the day they were to leave. And they said, hats off to you, you've done it in your Indian car. So this is here, and so they had bet $100 bet, okay, this is a $100 bet. And he promptly took out $100 and gave it to my husband and said, this is your bet. So these two people went to the gift shop, bought some gifts and gave it to him and said, don't underestimate Indians. That is how it is.
I was about to say that. Don't underestimate Indians, and more so Malayali. Yeah? Don't. But a few more snippets behind that. I think initially Vijay and his team were considering the Tata Sierra, which had come out at that point of time. But if I remember right, they had to drive 1,500 kilometers every day to be able to beat the record, and at about 130 odd speed, around about that, averaging around 100 plus, right? And somehow the Sierra was not suited to maintain that kind of speeds for that distance on and on every day. And I think they chose a Contessa at the end.
Contessa,
oh,
that's
nice. See, there you go. Classy Indian stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. Amidst all this, a world record as well. So now, I think we've spoken enough of the superhero in the front. Now we'll go back to the heroine in the back. And how has this journey been for you personally? Because there's so much happening. It's heroics for everyone that is hearing. But as a wife and as a mother, right, how did you cope with it? And you have a son too. And how did you guys?
It was not an easy journey. But one thing I can say is I always lived with pride. Especially in Chambal, it was very difficult because one day I was cleaning up his pant pockets and I found a letter in his pocket, which I opened and I read was Samrat Malkhan Singh, so and so with a proper letterhead. Aapka ek hi one, you have only one son, I can pick him up anytime. So please stop harassing me. And that is the time when I really got shit scared, actually. And I went up to him and I showed him the letter and said, Ki, what is this? Vijay, we can't be staying here. So he looked at the letter and he said, oh my God, oh, how did I not tear it and how is it still in my pocket? He just took it and tore it and threw it. He says, oh, don't worry, I get so many of them. You know, for him it was like, okay, don't worry about it. And that's how when, you know, you really fear your life for your child and things like that. And the other incident which I would like to share with you all is about Pan Singh. After Pan Singh encounter, Malkhan Singh wanted to surrender and he did surrender. But after a few years, when we were posted in Delhi, when he was in SPG, one night you had evening actually, the doorbell ring and my son Vikram goes up to the door, opens the door, it's a flat. And he sort of sees 4 or 5 men with guns standing there with a mustache. And he says, yes, he says, Raman Sahab yahan rehte hain, does Mr. Raman stay here? So he says, yes. He said, please tell them ki Malkhan Dadda aaya hai. Now he didn't know who Malkhan Dadda was because he was very young, 7, 8-year-old boy. He closed the door quickly running. He says, Papa, there's some people with guns who are looking for you. So now he was like worried. He said, okay. Vijay said, why would Malkhan Dadda after so many years come to meet me? He came, then he opened the door and lo and behold, it was the decoy who was standing in front of our gate. And Vijay had no option but to ask him to enter. So he came and sat in a drawing room and he had come after so many years of bail and all that, just to tell Vijay that, sir, you know, in the newspapers it was written that the first condition was that Vijay Raman should be transferred out, only then we will surrender. This Fulan Devi, Malkhan Singh when they surrendered. So it was not my condition. I wanted to surrender to you. So Vijay said, that's fine. I mean, you did your duty, I did mine. It doesn't matter. I mean, now you're okay, you're happy, so why worry about it? But he repeated twice, and I was sitting there because, you know, you suddenly have in Delhi on the 8th floor, we were staying on the 8th floor, and you have these 4 people with guns. I mean, I didn't know whether he'd come here for revenge or he'd come, you know. Yeah. So I heard him say so, and he said twice or thrice repeated it, no, it was not my condition. And that's when I felt that even criminals, outlaws, everyone, they respect your integrity, your dedication, and your bravery. Yes. So in society, if everyone is having a similar kind of values, even the criminals respect you. Yes. So these kind of things really made me very proud and gave me the strength also.
Right, and I think that is again, you know, a full circle to the earlier discussion we had about, you know, the price he had to pay for his integrity and you know, the way he upheld himself. I think this is standing testimony that, you know, the decoy that he kind of pushed towards surrender actually wanted to surrender right in front of him, right? And also says that it's easier being a man in the uniform than living with one. Right?
Yeah, I did take a photograph with him, with Malkhan Singh, which is in the book.
I think we have one here with
the book. Singh, yeah. So my husband was very angry with me. He says, "This is not a photo op time."
Oh yeah.
But, so I said,
fangirl
no.
moment, yeah, with the decoy.
No, but then I said, no, I have to show it to my grandchild to show, okay, instead of you running around with me, you were running after him when I got married. So that is why I do have that photograph.
Fantastic. And I think this has been a, you know, an amazing session, so much of insight into the life and, you know, ways of Vijay Raman. And so what I'm going to do is, we're going to wind up and then we're going to show you some photographs that Veena has gracefully, and, you know, we thank you for that. She's shared with us. And I think, and after that, maybe questions, I think 1 or 2 questions if there are any. And I think I'll wind up the session with, you know, what Vijay has said, saying, you know, winning without challenges is victory, but overcoming challenges is history, right? And on that note, I think maybe, can we play and you can see snippets of a lot of things that we discussed. Newspaper clippings from then, yeah.
So, These are some of his paper cuttings, and this is his photo. Yeah, this is the whole
After
gang.
the encounter.
Yeah.
This is a real encounter, not the web series one.
It was not easy, you know, those days, dacoits and...
I was looking at the guns and, you know, technology was way behind.
Yeah.
All of that were challenges. No Google Maps, no phones and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is Mr. Arjun Singh, who was the Chief Minister, who came to congratulate him after the Pan Singh encounter. Next. Yeah, these are... Move on. These are some of his...
newspaper clippings that came out after.
Yeah. He got his President's Police Gallery from Mr. Chandy, who was the governor at that time. Now, this is an idea which this is where it was, Chambal region.
Yeah.
This is the dacoit letters, and this is Malkhan Singh. This is Malkhan Singh I was talking about. He came home.
At your place. Yeah. And there's another one with her. Yeah.
This is his principal. I didn't talk about it because when he was in class 10, father was transferred out, and when he needed to stay back, so he sought permission from her to stay. There were only a girls' hostel, but he managed to stay there. So imagine a young teenager. So that's why he says, when you need something, you should take courage in your hands. And the principal allowed him to stay in the campus that time.
Nice.
So she had a great influence. That's his family, all in the uniform.
All in uniform.
Yeah. This is just our. This is our whole family. That's it. I think that should be okay. He has a lot with his friends. This is Mr. Raju, was also from Kerala. He also did the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. He's the one. So this is Mr. Vijay Kumar, who was also behind the Veerapan. He actually got him. So they were all batchmates. So he's where he found. Yeah. Yeah, these are his various pictures with Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Kalam, Mr. Vajpayee. This is during his trip with Rajiv Gandhi, where he mentions how he was, sometimes when he came to Kerala, that is, when he came to Kerala, he had to actually, be the translator for him.
Yeah, and I think he has a signed letter from Mandela as well, yeah?
Yeah, this is with Nelson Mandela when he had gone there. So that's how it is. Yeah, this is when he was with the Prime Minister's Security, how they were checking up on the SPG days, right?
That's the world record.
Yeah, he went to all the continents. So this is how the route was. Yeah. This is the Contessa
There you
car.
go, the Contessa.
Yeah.
How come you didn't jump in?
Yeah. Yeah, so they had a major accident and he just made it. They were supposed to do it in 31 days, but because of the Babri, they did it in 39 days, 7 hours and 55 minutes. This is his team, Mr. Naveen Kapila and the Bahadur. He is the mechanic who was there with him. Yeah, this is, when he returned, we welcomed him. I think you can edit over here. Yeah.
That should be it. Thank you. I think, and in winding up and before opening up, big salute to Vijay. Thank you for his service. And thank you, Veena, for being the pillar of strength behind Vijay. The whole nation appreciates and salutes you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Open for questions.
Hello, ma'am. It's an honor to meet a wife of such a serviceman.
Yes.
So, I understand that from the speech that you had a love marriage with your partner. So, did that love extend to the decisions he made along his official journey, or were you only part of the after effects? Did he share that with you?
Well, actually, if you look at it, he was one of the typical, you see the movies, official thing was a different Vijay, and the home front Vijay was different. He sort of protected me from his problems in office, and I didn't sort of put him with all my problems at home. I didn't bother him with those. So those are two separate things, but yet we were together always.
I think there's a line somewhere that he says that, Veena, don't keep praising me. When you praise me, it goes to my head.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he
Yeah.
couldn't resist. Yeah.
And then, of course, it was a very different kind of person, a lot of sense of humor and stuff like that. So it was great. But 24/7, he was actually more married to his job than to me after marriage.
Yeah, I mean, the insight that we shared, where's the time after all of that, and a world record, yeah. If that's it, thank you so much. Thank you for being
Thank
a
you very
wonderful
much
audience.
for all of
Thank you, Veena.
Very